Hi guys and welcome to Squad Goals. This is my FIFA 2019 career mode series with Aston Villa. This is season 2 and we're now in the Premier League. If you weren't there for season 1 then obviously you can go back and watch the previous episodes, but what I would like to do is just give you a quick catch up of where we are at so far. So in season 1 we obviously adopted the Villa team in a little bit of disrepair. We had quite a few aged players on board and also a number of players that had been inherited on loan, the likes of Yannick Bolasie, El Ghazi, Tammy Abraham, and so on and so forth. Now those players have obviously gone back to their parent clubs for season 2, and what we've continued to do is build upon the base that we had in season 1. So we went out and we bought quite a considerable amount of youth players and have continued to make those grow over the course of the first season. For season 2 we wanted to go on with that trend and we've added more players to that roster, but we're also looking at other avenues to develop as well. So we've got our youth squad, we've got 2 youth scouts that we send out to different countries in order to get some promising young talents on board, of which I think that we've got a handful of those, and we're going to try to bring them through over the next season or so. On top of that, we've also got the option of bringing in another batch of younger players to try to take over from those that perhaps are starting to fall by the wayside. Players that have given us a really good backbone to the team throughout season 1 and will continue to do so throughout season 2, as they are clearly the leaders within the pack. We've got the likes of James Chester in centre back, El Mohammadi out right, McGinn in the centre, although he's still a player for the future, player that we're really building the team around, Jack Grealish obviously, and then we've got the likes of Jonathan Codger, who scored a fantastic amount of goals last season, and also Nua Dika that brought on last year that scored quite a few goals for us too. So we're just going to try to improve upon the overall squad. We're still in the early phases of building this team at the end of the day, and it's a long-term project. I'm not expecting to be winning the Premier League in the next season. In fact, I actually think that we'll be struggling to stay up. We will have to fight against relegation. Last year we had a huge amount of draws. We just weren't scoring the quantity of goals that was necessary in order to take the fight to the leading teams, and we ended up obviously getting promoted through the playoffs. So that will be a challenge again for the rest of this season in order to try to improve upon what we were doing last year and try to get some wins on the board, try to score some more goals. The other interesting feature that we added towards the tail end of last season was the player of the episode. Now that is accumulated over the course of the episode, but with points being given to or taken away from players that have either performed very well or performed very poorly. So they're marked based on their player ratings, the amount of goals they score, their assists, the amount of tackles and saves in terms of the keeper, etc. So we keep an ongoing tally, and you'll see those produced towards the end of each game in order that we can then train that particular player that's won the player of the episode with 5 training slots on the training programme. So if you've been paying attention to the background, you can see that we've just been going through the squad hub just to get rid of some of the dead wood, and then also put some of the younger players on the loan list and just try to see where we stand currently with the squad itself, and perhaps where we might need to add some depth. So with that in mind, I'm just having a look through the transfer hub here just to see what we've got on the list in terms of players that I'm interested in, and the one that stands out to me is Joshua Wagnerman. Now he's a young German defender, plays left back but can also switch to the right hand side. Current valuation is 875,000, so I've laid a bid at 750 with a sell on clause, and Hamburg have come back at 790 with a 9% sell on clause. Just chancing my arm a little bit with a slightly lower bid of 775,000. And for some reason they've decided to really now overvalue him at 1.15 million. A very strange manoeuvre there from the team, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to then re-enter the same bid that they've obviously put in place, and now they're changing their mind again and going up to 1.2 million with a 4% sell-on clause. So oddly the computer here has decided that it's suddenly going to overvalue its player when it started off quite low. I'm perplexed by the whole situation and decided to end the negotiations. Another player that has a huge amount of potential on this game is Rikia Puig. Pugh. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, but in any chance, he's a fantastic player for the future. You would usually be in the Barcelona B team, but because that team's not in FIFA this year, obviously he's been promoted to the standard Barcelona team, and basically he's got a buyout clause. So we're going to activate the buyout clause so we don't have to deal with Barcelona in terms of a fee. And I'm just negotiating with the player himself, obviously, trying to get a better deal than he's currently on. And as we can see, we've got quite a good deal here. We've had to sign him up with a release clause of 15.5 million, but that's not too much of a problem, to be honest, because I think by the time he gets towards that value, we'll be able to negotiate another contract and either get rid of the clause, because we'll have improved as a team and he'll want to stay, or we can extend it onwards. As you can see here, we've got another offering for James Bree, which I'm going to reject because I need that right back at the moment. As we look to steal yet another player from Arsenal, young Reiss Nelson, the right winger. We couldn't sign him in the first season because he was out on loan at Hoffenheim, and he has actually got a short amount of time left on his current contract with Arsenal, I believe, so we should be able to steal him away for less than his current value, which, as we can see, we've managed to do a deal at 1.8 million, which I'm pretty pleased about, to be honest. It appears that we might be able to get him for less wages than he's currently on at Arsenal as well, which would obviously also be impressive, and that's turned out to be the case as we move into the first game of the pre-season tournament against Angers SCO. Consider here for the lineup, we've got 5 at the back as usual, 3 in midfield with Grealish in the cam position, Dicko and Kodja up front. As we join the action here, we're out on the left hand wing, crossing the ball in towards Kodja, and a diving header that he nearly got onto, but Grealish picks up the pieces, but it gets taken away from him by the defender. In the midfield here, Grealish on the ball, knocks it inside to Dozal. Dozal, he's going to knock that inside to Puig. Puig with a great through ball out to El Mohammadi. Can he get the cross in? That's a penalty, surely. Surely that's a penalty. Sometimes I just don't get this game. Really don't. Right, so we join the action here with a great shot there from the opposition striker. Closing in on half time here. Out to Kodja. He's just beat it against the goalkeeper. Second half underway, and Rico Henry on the ball here, out on the left hand side, the marauding left back. Knocked into the box. Nothing doing there. It's back out to Dozal, who's knocked it into Dicko. Dicko back to Dozal, who's knocked it onto Grealish. Nearly loses it there, Grealish, but knocks it back out to Dozal. Dozal into Puig, and he knocks it over the bar. Unlucky there from the youngster. Just a bit too much power on the shot. Okay, out on the right hand side, Puig cutting inside, knocks it onto Dozal, and Dozal's watching the overlap there from Rico Henry. Rico Henry stands it up towards the back post, and it's a great goal from my own man Jonathan Kodja. Right there on the spot to get the header. Celebrations there with the team as they lift him aloft. So yeah, it's a great through ball there to Rico Henry on the overlap, and Kodja just drifting away at the back post manages to nod it home. Gets away from the defender, and easy pickings really for Kodja, that type of goal. Okay, so we've made a few subs here. Got Shaparenko on the ball, out to Grealish. Puig again with another shot, and it's a bit of a blazer, but it will do. It's not too bad. As we see here that they've got the ball on the edge of the box. Oh, they've hit the post, and it's hit the back of the goalkeeper, but it's offside. Thank goodness for that. And we pick up the victory in our first game of the pre-season tournament as our players, Kodja and Maitland-Niles, celebrate their victory. So the players of this game were obviously Henry, Kodja with 4, Grealish with 2, Dozal with 2, and Taylor with 2. And what I hadn't noticed up until that point is that Taylor was actually in goal because Nyland is injured, and although I'd promoted my one of my youth players into the team. He hadn't been pre-selected to go in goal, and Taylor had ended up in goal because of that, which is a bit of an oddity, but there we go. As we just shift on, obviously, to some training for the youngsters, we're going to move things around to try to improve different players. Got Czech Toure here, just having a quick look at the youngster to see what we might be able to improve going forward, and he's gone on to adept attacking scenarios. Shifting the keeper role over onto Robert Horn, as he's now the youth player rather than the one actually sat in the squad, which is Figueroa. So we're going to try to improve Horn to the point whereby we can actually promote him, and we'll send Figueroa out on loan as we move on into the second game of the episode, as we face off against Spal in what is classified as an away fixture, but obviously it's a pre-season tournament, so we're playing in the same places. Henry got man of the match in the last episode, so he's a little bit jaded, but he's still in the lineup with 5 at the back. Maitland-Niles in the back lineup, along with Bree and Delat out right. We're pretty short on players at this point, so we've had to kind of shake the lineup about. It's a bit of a Wenger-esque kind of layout with the team. As we get the ball into the box, and Brewster, that was, with the header. So close for the youngster. He gets there just ahead of the defender, and I think the defender just did enough to put him off. Brewster here again out on the left-hand wing. He's going to cut inside and throws the ball in the box. Tavernier with a weak header, to be fair. Okay, so Spal with the ball, but we've managed to steal it away. Up to Brewster, who's held it up well and knocked it through to Tavernier. Tavernier with the pace. Can he score? Tries the lob shot, but the keeper stood up well. Spal with the ball and knocking it into the box, and they've managed to get in behind us. Keeper sprawled out to try to get it, but fortunately he's tapped it in. And I think that's down to predominantly having a weak lineup at the back. Positionally, we were quite poor in that lineup. As we catch the action here with Santoro, knocks it to McGinn, and McGinn with the effort from about 16 yards can't quite get it where he wants it. Not the worst effort, to be honest, but perhaps should have gone to what would be his near post. Spal on the attack here in the second half, knocking the ball around quite nicely, trying to cut out those passing lanes, but unfortunately they've got it into the box, and it's a great header from 18 yards. Another one of those type of goals where you can't really get, and we've lost the ball again in midfield. Keeper's got the ball, he's going to knock it out. Oh, disastrous. Absolutely disastrous there from Figueroa. He's just gone to clear it, and he's given it straight to the opposition. So it's a loss there, 3-0 to Spal in that game. Brewster was the only real showing of the game, and he gets 4 points for his efforts. Man of the match. So this episode's top players are now Brewster with 4, Codger with 4, and Rico Henry with 4. And we've got a transfer offer in for Doyle Hayes, the young 20-year-old Irish player here. He's not going to feature in our squad, so I'd just rather get rid of him and get him off the wage bill, to be perfectly honest. He's not going to make us a huge amount of money. 145,000 is what we've accepted, as we move out again to negotiate on Joshua Wagnerman. And obviously this time I'm not going to play around too heavily with trying to provoke them into overvaluing him. So again, I've offered 750,000 with a 5% sell-on clause. They've come back at 790 with a 4% sell-on clause. So vastly different to where they approached this deal the last time around. So we're going to obviously accept that and move on to the contract negotiations. He's asked for a sporadic squad role, 4-year contract and no release clause. We're setting our stall out at 2,000 wages with a 20,000 signing bonus to start with. And he's responded with 2,900 with a 25,000 signing bonus. So we're just going to have another go at this. Reduce the wage slightly, because obviously it's an amount that we're going to pay over a long period of time, and obviously then give him slightly more on the signing bonus to try to sweeten the deal. 2,750 with a 30,000 signing bonus, and the young man is ours. And we move out to the third pre-season game of the tournament against Royal Antwerp, the Belgian team. Okay, so Brewster was extremely fatigued after that last game, so although he got man of the match, he won't feature here. We're going for a 4-2-3-1 formation, which is obviously quite different to what we're used to playing. We usually play with 5 up front, and Dicko there just trying to latch onto a through ball from Grealish. Maitland-Niles into Grealish again, and it's decent effort, but he was leaning back as he took some of the sting out of the shot, as Antwerp also get a shot away, but a little bit further out. Antwerp now putting a little bit of pressure on us, get the tackle in, but they've managed to get free again on the edge of the box, and it's into Figueroa. Figueroa's made another blunder. When the ball's been passed back to him, he's just ricocheted off the player and into the goal. I would not be celebrating that, because it's a terrible goal to both give away and also score, to be fair. As Smith Rowe here with the ball, he's going to throw it into the box. I expected that to go to the far post, but he got to Dicko at the near post and he's just missed it wide with a header. Unlucky there from the striker. Antwerp again on the ball in the middle here, knocking it around quite nicely, and they've got it out to the wing. What can they do from here? They've just poked it into the box, and the striker got free too easy. He was unmarked. It was an easy chance for him inevitably there, and we're in a state of disarray there at the back. Don't know what's going on with the defence, to be honest. I know it's a bit of a makeshift team at the moment, because we're trying a few new things out in terms of formation and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, we're really under the cosh here from Antwerp. Coming towards the end of the game here, and we're already 2-0 down, and it's an absolute wonder strike. Don't mind those goals every so often, to be honest, because the build-up play was pretty good, and we've been poor in this game, so they do deserve to beat us quite considerably. Another 3-0 loss, which is disastrous for pre-season, in honesty. We really have made a real hash of this pre-season tournament, but it has given us some idea of where we need to strengthen, etc. in the future. So this game's top players were Figueroa with 5 and Maitland-Niles with 4. So that basically gives the top players of this episode Figueroa with 4, Henry with 4, Brewster with 4, and essentially there's no real winner. So what I've decided to do is that, because we played so poorly in this pre-season tournament, is that I'm not going to do the normal thing with the training mode in this episode. So we get an offer in there for Maitland-Niles, which I'm clearly going to reject. I don't want to get rid of the youngster. He's quite important in the overall scheme of what I'm trying to achieve here with Villa. He's going to be one of our key players going forward. A bit more training here for some of the youngsters, because obviously we're not going to do player of the episode, as I mentioned. We'll move on into that when we get into the season for real, just because I don't believe any player really deserved it this episode. But if you did enjoy that episode, if you'd like to hit that like button for me, that really helps, and also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification for mobile updates, and see you next time.